I think it was at your summit this year. I think it's Jehan Williams, is it?
Yes.
Right. I'm sure it was her statement that you never know who will benefit from your story. And that thing stuck with me.
Greetings, Apreneurs. Welcome to the Authorpreneur Secrets podcast, the show that uncovers the secrets to win with books, beyond book sales, and dominate entrepreneurship. Through exclusive author interviews, stories, and must-have resources, you will discover some of the secrets and strategies to thrive with books and generate lasting income. I invite you to become an Authorpreneur ambassador and join me in my mission to raise up 10,000 Caribbean entrepreneurs by 2030. Spread the word about the podcast and encourage more people to increase their impact and income with books beyond book sales. To get started, visit authorpreneursecrets.com/resources and download all the resources that you need to become a winning authorpreneur. Without further ado, let's get into the show. Greetings, Apreneurs. It's that time of the year as we prepare for the Caribbean Authorpreneur Summit, which is going to be the third week in January. That's January 19 to 20. That's Friday and Saturday in 2024. And the focus of our summit is going to be publishing and author success paths. And today I have with me Daphne Ellis. She is an Amazon bestselling author of the book Dancing Among Snakes. And she's an educator, trained counselor who has worked in various capacities in her homeland, in Jamaica and overseas. She's a specialist trained in both mathematics and English and has served as department head and school principal in a few schools. Daphne is passionate about seeing people overcome difficulties and describes her work with drug addicts as one of the most interesting seasons in her life. She enjoys motivational speaking, music, writing, and conducting workshops. More importantly, Daphne Ellis was a member of the Authorpreneur Secret Academy, which we're going to be relaunching at the Caribbean Authorpreneur Summit on January 19. And she's going to be sharing that experience as well as just bring us up to speed about her author journey. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Daphne.
Thank you for having me, Ruth.
So, having lived overseas and you're from Jamaica, what makes Jamaica more exciting, for want of a bias? What's the big difference? And would you prefer living overseas or living in Jamaica?
That's an interesting question. Jamaica is home. And despite what is happening, for me, there's no place like home. There's something about the Jamaican spirit. It is infectious. And the average Jamaican has a kind of inner strength that is admirable. And I think that is that strength that has carried me. I've served in 2 Caribbean islands, and I chose to remain in the Caribbean because for me, it was closer home. And no matter what happened, it was easy to hop on a plane. It was one flight, and within an hour or less, I would be home. You know, there's a thing that Jamaicans think they know it all, and there's this kind of rivalry that exists between Jamaicans and many, of our Caribbean neighbors. But as a Jamaican, we have so much in us. There is a lot of talent here, and there is a trait that we exhibit in the toughest of times. We seem to be able to humor, make fun, and just create ways to survive. That in the toughest experiences, even some that you would consider embarrassing, we are able to create an interesting spin on it. We make music, we make songs, memes, so many things on social media, and you're able to laugh it through while learning lessons. So it is that spirit of Jamaica that I love. And of course, the food. I can't I can't overlook that. The
Yes.
food and the spirit of Jamaica for me just thrives. Our runners, there are just so many things about our country that's admirable. And everybody wants to visit Jamaica. You go abroad and somebody learns that you're from Jamaica and they ask about Usain Bolt and Oxdale and Duns River and, so many things about our country. So I'm really one very proud Jamaican.
Awesome sauce. And as you talk about our food, we just won some culinary
Yes, I saw that.
award. Yeah,
I saw
and
that.
you're so right. We take bad things, make joke. And so
Yeah.
as you're listening all over the world, this podcast, we are in over 30 countries based on my last analysis. You having heard that, we trust that you'd want to take a trip to Jamaica.
Yeah. Yes.
But let's get into your author journey. How did that come about?
Well, I would say I stumbled on being an author. In January of 2021, I stumbled on an ad, or I think it was my friend's page on Facebook. I saw something about your academy, right? And Authorpreneur Secret Academy. And I clicked on it and I said, this sounds interesting. Let me join. And I joined, and that's all I did. And I keep saying, okay, I need to start these classes. I need to explore this some more. But I was so bogged down with work that I just never explored it until one day I said, let me make an appointment, a session to meet with you. And we met and chatted initially. And I shared with you what my thoughts were, because at the time, I just wanted to write, to give voice to what I consider a very painful season in my life. And we chatted, and then it kind of created the desire in me to put fire to my feet, as it were, and get this thing going. And I found the information in the Authorpreneur Secret Academy very, very helpful. I mean, anybody could follow the sessions, and there was a lot of information. And I kind of said, how come she giving all of this for free? Because it was a lot of information to wade through. And I remember at one point, I was like a kid in a candy store, clicking on this, that information, and all over the place, because I was really very impressed with the organization of the academy and all that it had to offer. So I started to write. And initially, when I shared with you what I wanted the title of my book to be, they said, oh, everybody writing about that. And yeah, kind of, well, okay, we'll flesh it out at some point. And I continued writing, and your guidance, Ruth, was really very, very good. I felt comfortable. I never felt flustered, or I felt like, I don't know what I'm doing. You really held my hand and guided me, and I really appreciate that. And I would plug in here, Authorpreneur Secrets Academy is a place to be if you want to write your book. All right. And as my writing journey continued, and we talked and we had sessions, and you continued to give me guidance. And the title for my book emerged in such an interesting way, because I was sharing with you a dream that I had. And I remember the excitement, and you said, that's the title for your book. And it led to Dancing Among Snakes. And it became a bestseller, and it has opened many doors. I've always heard Ruth say, books open doors. And even though at this point, interestingly, I've not had a book launch, because I I resigned my job overseas last summer and came home to have my book launch and all that goes with it. And I had to face the diagnosis that my mother was terminally ill, and all my plans switched. Book launch, everything went through the door, and I became a full-time caregiver. And it did not throw off my author journey, because during that time I was able to do 2 interviews, one with Jodian Pantry, who is one of our national singers, but is also known internationally. And I also did an interview on CVM as well. But also, since my mother's passing, I have done 2 speaking engagements, one at Celebration Church in Portmore, and I spoke to over 800 people in that presentation and sold quite a number of books. It was a very meaningful and powerful encounter. And I've also ministered to another church group. And it's interesting how I came involved in that group, because again, it was my book that opened the door. A friend of mine sold one of my books to a friend of hers, and she was so interested in the book that she said she had to meet this author. And that is how I met her. We have not met face to face, we're online friends, and she invited me to address her women's group, and that again was a very, very meaningful experience. So doors are opening, and I am grateful to God for the experience that I'm having.
Awesome sauce. I love it. This is exactly what we talk about. And the tagline for the Academy is activated for greater. And it is because a book activates you for greater. It opens doors. It's a calling card, just like, you know.
It is.
And I am so proud of you. I didn't know you were on CVM. And yeah, just tell us a little bit about the book. The title is interesting, Dancing Among Snakes. What is this book about for those who are interested in it based on just the title?
Yes. Okay, Dancing Among Snakes. Many people do not even want to hear the word snake. And I've had some people who have looked at the book and said, why did you use a snake? But the snake is symbolic, and I want our viewers or listeners to see that as a significant thing in this book. The symbolism of the snake is used to represent difficulties, attacks, tough situations. And in the midst of those tough situations, I'm saying you can triumph, you can gain victory. Because this title came out of a dream that I had. And in that dream, I was literally dancing among snakes, but there was a distinct voice that echoed that I was dancing among snakes. But the beautiful thing is, I was not scared. It was a lot of euphoria and triumph and just victory. I was just skipping and gliding over these snakes. And my book unfolds a number of situations in which I danced among snakes. Symbolic of things that could have destroyed me, things that could have made me give up on life, tough situations on the job, in the society, but God gave me the strength to dance. And when you read this book, it is a challenge. It is a source of encouragement to say to you, hardships are a part of life. They're inevitable. They will come. But you can choose to dance and experience victory in those tough situations. In addition, in the book, I share a bit about snakes, and what I found amazing and interesting when I did that research is how much you can compare qualities and habits among snakes to our everyday situations. So I don't want our readers to be scared about the snake. Just see it as a symbol of attacks and hard times, but that symbol of that woman dancing in that bright, beautiful color among all that exists around you, I'm saying to you, you can be victorious. And my book will tell you how you can be victorious.
I love it. You just sold us. Yes, so congratulations. I really love the title, the symbolism and the stories, and you write so well. It was an honor to work with you to bring that to pass. Now, Authorpreneur Secrets, the podcast, the academy, and the book is about winning beyond book sales. And we heard a little bit about that in terms of the doors that have been opened for ministry, and it brought visibility. How have you been creating greater impact or leveraging books? What products, services, and things have developed beyond just selling books? Can you tell us how you have been winning beyond book sales since the book? I know you've sold perhaps maybe 500 copies of the book or so, but beyond the book sales, what has happened? Because this is the Authorpreneur Secrets podcast. So tell us.
Right. Okay, I am doing the final touches to a 5-part study that we have used the acronym DANCE. And I'm really looking forward to sharing that. It can be used in churches, in small groups, in many different ways. So look out for my 5-part study that is coming up. But beyond that, I consider this to be the most interesting experience I've had. Because when I wrote, right? And I'm looking forward to my launch. I didn't have any thoughts about even helping others or writing for others or anything like that. And I had a very interesting experience this summer. I went with a friend of mine on a trip to on the South Coast, and the place that she was visiting, we were given a tour. And as I listened to the owner's story, I just became very excited. And I said, wow, that's a book. And he said, really? He said, many people have told him to write this book. And then my friend turned to him and said, well, let her write it. She just published a book. And he said, really? And he became very excited. We exchanged numbers, and there began my first ghostwriting opportunity. And I simply loved it. I wrote like it was my story because it was so captivating. And because I like stories that have a victorious theme to it, overcomers, underdogs, thriving. I just love that. And that was his story. And I wrote the book in under 3 months. And he is super excited as well. It's like he's this trigger. And then, he wants to think of so many other people's stories that need to be heard. And that just opened the door to, and I'm now coaching one other person in writing their book. I am now learning publishing in Authorpreneur Secret Academy, and I'm excited about that as well. I am beginning to proofread other people's work. And all of this is something that I never, ever thought would happen. And the reason why it is so meaningful for me is that when I resigned my job last year, I had no plans. I had no clue what I was going to do. And I came and then was thrust into caregiving. And then here I am on a totally different path where God is using the skills I have for his honor and for his glory. And it's interesting because I attempted to teach when I got here. And two things happened that made me realize that God was really shifting my focus. The first thing is that the response from the school went to a wrong email. And then in the follow-up, when I should have gone to do the interview, I had laryngitis and I couldn't talk. So I called it off. And I said, God, you didn't have to shout that loud. I got the message and I just relaxed. And all of this has unfolded. And I am just looking forward to the people that God will allow to come into my life, in this way. And I'm happy to be a part of Ruth's vision to raise up so many Caribbean writers. And I'm just excited to be a part of this journey. And I'm saying, come along and join us.
Yes, I am so excited hearing you getting goosebumps, because this is what it's about, author success paths, publishing success paths, and raising up more entrepreneurs, because now you're an entrepreneur. You are earning and doing things beyond the book sales. So you went from author to now you're a ghostwriter. You're helping other authors to write and publish their stories. And we have so many stories to tell as Caribbean people. And I am so proud of you. I read the book that you were the ghostwriter for, and I was super impressed. So I'm saying to folks, if you have a story to tell and you don't want to write it, Daphne Ellis gets my vote. She will be able to get your memoir out. So you can see some of the author success parts here. It leads to visibility. You can start a ministry. She is now all the skills that she had, because she's trained in English and math. So she's using that English degree to know edit, proofread, and publishing, and people are just coming to her. And for me, this is what the summit is about. It's about replicating, because we want to raise up 10,000 entrepreneurs by 2030. So if we get 50, imagine if we have 50 more Daphnes, and within 2 to 3 years, they release 200 stories and 200 authors, then we would meet our target.
I think it was at your summit this year. I think it's Jehan Williams.
Yes.
Right. I'm sure it was her statement that you never know who will benefit from your story. And that thing stuck with me as I, began to read other people's stories and realize that even though death, for example, is a common experience, right? But one person's book about death will be completely different from another person's book about death. So our stories are unique. And I encourage people, I encourage our listeners, you have a story to tell, and you never know who will be blessed and strengthened and helped by your story.
Awesome. So on that note, as we bring this interview to a close, how can we get in touch with you so that our stories can be told?
Okay, I am on LinkedIn as Daphne Ellis. I'm on Instagram as Daphne Ellis as well. And I'm on Facebook as Daphne Free and Blessed Ellis. There's a reason for this free and blessed. It has been something that has affirmed me. The freedom that I have as a person through very difficult situations in life, and still blessed to be a blessing to others. So that is why I have that Daphne Free and Blessed there on Facebook. And I'm also on YouTube as Daphne Ellis.
Awesome sauce. Daphne, it has been a privilege and pleasure talking to you. And we invite you to come on out to the summit. Daphne is going to be part of the panel on January 19 at 7 p.m. Jamaica time. I think at that time it would be 7 p.m. 6 p.m. Eastern when we get there for January, because the clock is going to change. But you can come on out and ask your questions. For the first time this year, the summit is going to be streamed on YouTube, but the home of the summit is the Indie Authorpreneurs Facebook group. And we are going to be doing our promotions and registration towards the end of the year. And we invite you to sign up because there will be a summit toolkit that you won't get if you're not on the mailing list. So once again, Daphne, take care and blessings to you.
Blessings to you. It was my pleasure.
Just reminding you that of the making of books, there is no end. Go pen it to win it and dominate authorpreneurship. Ciao for now, until next time.